Yeah. When I read the story about this, I thought, wow, this is about getting high-speed trains, a modern railway line to link Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique. And I was thinking, I thought we had such railway, not such railway lines for high-speed trains, but a railway line that currently exists. Is this an important infrastructure development?
It is, especially because they are talking about building it parallel to the existing one. Because this one is going to allow the high-speed kind of how train as we know it here in South Africa, 160 kilometers per hour for passengers, and for cargo, 120. Now, that's a major breakthrough if you just think how many times you get stuck driving behind trucks that are carrying cargo from mines and all that. And it's a pity that we are only talking about it now. My worry is, why the US?
Before we unpack why the U.S., it's linking the Copperbelt province of Zambia,
yes,
going all the way to the port of Beira,
yes,
in central Mozambique,
yeah,
and via Harare. So it's going to come from the southern of Zambia, literally, cross into Harare, Zimbabwe, and then left towards the port of Beira. Is that an important exit in terms of trade and stuff?
Exactly. It's a logical corridor. Zimbabwe is, by the way, the rightful hub of SADC, if we're talking geographic and how equidistant it is.
And SADC has wanted to develop so many corridors.
So that corridor is important because from the Copper Belt through Mozambique, it means you now have something. Think about it. You don't have to come down all the way to Richards Bay. And you know Mozambique better than most of us. Beira is much better positioned from a Mozambique perspective because Maputo is just too far south. And if you consider that lots of mining in Mozambique happens towards the north, central to the northern Mozambique, that's a much more logical corridor to have. And rail, to me, is like blood vessels.
Now, I understand from the report that I've seen, feasibility studies are going to start in the next 6 weeks, but they don't want to tell us who are these investors. They are saying they are going to remain anonymous until a contract with the investors has been signed. And that brings a question mark to me, and it links to what you were saying earlier. Why the U.S.?
Yeah, well, it sounds like a U.S. company, but why? You know, with Donald Trump, President Trump, talking the way he talks about African countries, first of all, there would just be too much risk if you were to disclose beforehand. But you know Africa has problems generally. Way too much political interference, which means if you announce who's going to invest, you're likely to draw attention of the opposition, of the people who are sponsoring them. My question, though, is not so long ago, Zambia was supposedly indebted to China for the money they used to build the airport, the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport. And although they denied that they were overstretched and had the risk of handing over the asset, which has happened when you owe China and you can't pay back like we saw in Sri Lanka, why would they be going to the U.S.? It's almost the over-indebtedness that I'm worried about. The infrastructure, I'm all for it. And Ethiopia proved to us that you can crowd-finance with your own people if you're organized. You don't always need to go get $11 million.
We'll have to see who are these investors. Let's find out. But Zambia now, the Transport and Communication Permanent Secretary, Mishek Lungu, has signed this agreement. Yep. And they're looking forward to the benefit of transporting bulk cargo from Zambia via Zimbabwe into Mozambique.
The business case I could never argue against. I'm always happy when I see an infrastructure of that kind. I wish we had all kinds of railroads all over. You hear of car accidents on the road, you see the congestion. There's no way you can develop without rail, especially if it transports both cargo and passengers.
And this one's construction will begin, according to the reports, in January.
January 2021.
Yeah. So we've got less than a year to go. Thank you very much, Victor,
it's been a pleasure.
for coming in this morning. Now, let's